So we have much more complicated microphones than other people. Are we on? Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes. This is from a play of mine called The Designated Mourner, which is really 3 hours long, but I condensed it to, I hope, 8 minutes. This is the play in a brief form. And there are 3 characters living in a sort of country with a repressive regime. Howard is an intellectual and a writer who is not, neither of us will read his part. And Deborah will read the part of his daughter, Judy. And I am his son-in-law, married to Judy. And there's sort of a crackdown that eventually takes place in the later part of the play. So that would be about 4 minutes into the condensation. And previously, they'd all been living together in one house. But when the regime starts to crack down on dissidents and different people are being assassinated in restaurants, Jack, he has a lot of reasons that he would tell you in the full version of the play, but you can take it that he realizes that hanging out with his wife and father-in-law is dangerous, and he leaves the house. He never says that that's why he leaves. But at the beginning, it's a more quiet time. Did I envy Judy's father? Of course I did. I envied Howard because of the way he could read. It was so easy, so casual. The way I might have picked up an article about the latest approach to cooking string beans, he would pick up a book of poems by John Donne. I was clever enough to know that John Donne was offering something that was awfully enjoyable. I just wasn't clever enough to actually enjoy it. I devoted my life to it, I suppose you could say, but I couldn't get near to the great writers. Day after day and year after year, I read them, but they always seemed remote. I didn't want them to, they just did. I was kept out of it all, kept away. Howard, on the other hand, was let right in. Come in, they said. Here we are. Come talk. Come be with us. We're right here. And then, more and more frequently, I'd find that my mind had just slipped away from me, following some peculiar will of its own. One day, Judy said to me something like, "I don't understand your relationship to society. I don't understand your relationship to the world you live in." "Can I tell you something?" I said to her snappily. "Do you know something? I don't understand my relationship to my own ass." I was standing naked in the bathroom this morning, and when I saw my ass in the mirror, I just said to myself, "What is that? What is that? And what does it have to do with me?"
Jack.
Yes?
Jack, people cry at funerals.
Excuse me?
People cry at funerals. "Can't I be saved?" I cried out to him, falling on my face in the grass, hugging his legs. "No," he said, "love can't save you." "But what about the idea of a better world?" I said.
Well, I did take a bath this morning, if that's what you're asking. What are you asking?
I'm asking you, don't you remember how you felt when we went to visit that fucking orphanage?
Where was that, actually?
With the orange trees outside it. We saw the children, we touched them. Your shirt was soaked with the sweat of that sick little girl. I mean, what are you now? Do you see yourself now as just what? As what?
I don't see myself as anything at all. Judy, you see, you're looking at me. This is me. This is me. And this is all there is to me.
Jack, please.
Tell me what you're telling me.
The orphanage, the infirmary, the orange trees, the girl, the medicine, the beds. A group of men on the front lawn, they asked to see Father. They looked like the people who came over all the time. Father put a robe on over his pajamas, put on his slippers, came downstairs. They said nothing. They smashed his face in with their hands and fists, left him bleeding, and ran away. The next day, Jack moved out of the house.
Oh, I don't know. It was a day when something finally just broke in my head and I was in terrible shape. Then I ran out of the house and I felt better, so I never went back. You know, it was actually my body that ran out of the house. Do you see what I'm saying? What propelled it? It didn't know, and no one knows, and no one can know.
Then one day there was a funny postcard, the picture of an outdoor restaurant. No salutation, no signature. In a very pretty garden, I ate lunch without you today, at a wobbly table with a thin rose crawling bent and unbalanced out of a tiny vase. I ate an egg and didn't think about you. Then each night, alone in the house with Father, I'd go to bed late. I'd fall asleep instantly as if I'd been clubbed. Then 3 hours later, I'd wake up again, sweaty, terrified, my heart pounding. Lying in my bathtub in the dark, I'd twist back and forth under the little stream of water, as if an invisible person were whipping me brutally. Every once in a while, I'd still sometimes throw on some earrings and a dress and go to a party at some embassy or other and chat with the bureaucrats, the wives, the rising young couples. But I learned nothing. Really nothing beyond the obvious fact that half the high officials were in their 20s now.
I had brooded and brooded about the self. What was the self? And then one day I finally understood that the self, my self, was just a pile of bric-a-brac. Just everything my life had quite by chance piled up. Everything I'd seen or heard or experienced, meticulously, pointlessly piled up and saved. A heap of nothing. A heap of nothing which had somehow been compressed into some sort of a form and had somehow succeeded in coming alive, and which quite ridiculously now sort of demanded tribute, declared itself great. And at that very same moment, I felt I saw, standing by the window in the fading light, that very creature, that self which was mine, that ludicrous figure whom I'd approached till now with such ostentatious displays of respect, such fervor, groveling, hand-kissing, and tears, And I went up to the figure, the unpleasant little self, and sort of pulled it by the arm in the fading light, and I spun it around toward me. And then I threw it on its back and kicked it smartly in the face, and then I sat on top of it, grabbed its neck, and choked it and strangled it and bashed its skull against the floor until it stopped squealing, stopped howling, gasped, and was gone. And what a fucking relief it was. All that endless posturing, the seriousness, the weightiness that I was so sick to death of, I'd never have to do any of it ever again. And so I made a new life. And I was so happy because it was so easy. I walked down the street with a different step, a sloppier one. I ate in different places, developed different tastes. I decided years before what foods I would always say that I didn't like, but I like them now. I found a new apartment, and some people might have said it wasn't really very nice. It was smelly, I suppose, but I enjoyed it. And you know how I'd always treated books with such respect? I would never even write in a book or fold down a page or toss a book casually onto a table. But one morning in my new apartment, I did something funny. At least I thought it was funny. I put a book of poetry in the bathtub and I urinated on it. An interesting experiment. Then I left it in the tub, and then later, when I needed to shit, I hadn't planned this. It just came to me as an idea. Instead of shitting into the toilet, I shat on the book. Just to see, if it could be done. And apparently, it was possible, despite what anyone might have told me. So, like a scientist, I noted in my diary that night, yes, the experiment has been a complete success.